Hey, this is Brilith with Nox Game Studios, and today we're going to continue our series on implementing multiplayer in Unity. In this video, we're going to modify our friend system to use Photon Chat. This will allow us to refresh the friends list while in a Photon room. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can stay up to date on the series. Now let's head into Unity and start making changes to our code. Let's go to our code section and go to Photon, and let's make two scripts: Photon Chat Friend Controller and Photon Status. And we'll be using these two scripts to replace our old system. Once you've created those two scripts, let's go to our game scene and let's go to friends, and let's remove or disable the Photon Friend Controller that you previously had and attach the Photon Chat friend controller. And once you've done that, let's open it up. Let's take a look. So this is the new class that we will be replacing the old Photon friend controller. This will be communicating with the Photon Chat controller. So before we review this class, let's go to the Photon Chat controller to see what's happening there. In this Photon Chat controller, we implemented this interface iChat listener. And one of the methods that it has is this on status update, which will have a user, a status, if it has a message, and then the message itself. What we're going to do is use this to know when a player in our friends list has updated their status. So what we're going to do here is when a status is updated, we're going to create a Photon status, which is just simply the string for the username, the status, which is just an integer, typically 0 or 1 for online, offline. And then we're going to take this message and we're just going to cast it to be a string, and we're going to store that into this new status. Once we've stored that, we're going to invoke this event, which will be used in our Photon Chat friend controller. Now there's a couple other changes we also need to look at in this class. So if we scroll up, we'll see this on connected and on disconnected. When we connect to the Photon Chat, we will be triggering this event, and we're going to be passing it in this Photon Chat client, and we'll also be setting the chat client's status to being online. Now when we disconnect, we're going to be setting the online status to be offline, and that'll allow us to know when our friends become online and offline. So that's how everything's going to start. Now let's switch back over to the Photon Chat friend controller and see what's happening there. Photon Chat friend controller will just inherit from mono behavior. It won't be inheriting from like mono behavior pun or implement any interfaces like we've seen in some of our other classes. You'll see there's a few different variables declared here. The first one is just a boolean to see if this Photon friend chat controller has been initialized or not, and if it has, it'll proceed as normal. We're also going to have a string list here that'll have all the different friends in our friends list. Unlike the Photon friend controller, this can just be a simple string versus before it was a playfab friend. We're also going to store a reference to a chat client, and we're going to have a dictionary that'll store our friends and their current status. And then lastly, we'll have two different events that this class will fire off. One is the event that we saw in the other class, which was this on display friends, so that the UI knows to update itself. And then this on status updated, so that anything that's subscribed to this class will get the updated status. So here in the awake function, we're just going to initialize our friends list and our friends statuses dictionary. We're also going to subscribe to a few different events here. The first one is just like the Photon friend controller class, which this is just the event that our playfab friend controller fires off for when the friends list there has been updated. And then we're going to have two events here that we subscribe to our Photon Chat controller that we just looked at. One is going to be when the Photon Chat controller actually connects to Photon, and also when the Photon Chat controller has an updated status, which we just saw. A new one is on our UIFriend. So if we go look at that, this is going to be a event that the UIFriend fires off when it gets enabled, and also when it gets initialized. And basically it's going to be passing in a string for the friend name for this UI friend, and it's going to be expecting to receive a status for that friend. And we'll cover that more here in a minute. So now when we look at our handle friend updated, just like before, it's taking this UIFriend friend info. It's basically converting that to a list, and we're storing the title name into our friends list. We're also going to be removing our Photon friends and then finding our Photon friends. So let's go look at those methods. So if the friends list count is greater than 0 and it's been initialized, then we'll actually remove. If not, then we just won't do anything. The next method it calls is this find Photon friends. So basically, if this chat client is equal to null, then it'll stop. What that means is we have not connected to Photon Chat yet. If we have, and we do have friends, then we'll initialize it. We'll say the friends display name array is equal to our friends list to array. And then we'll take our chat client and we'll add friends, and we'll add all the different friends that we have in our friends list. Once we've done that, we'll update our UI by doing this event evoke for on display friends, and we'll be passing in the friend list. Now that we've looked at the handle friends list updated, let's scroll back up and see the next event that we're subscribed to. And that's going to be this on chat connected. Let's look at that. So basically it's going to be receiving a chat client, and we're going to set that chat client to our class's private chat client. And then we're going to remove the Photon friends, and we're going to find the Photon friends. And that's going to be the same code that we just looked at. The next event that we're subscribed to is this handle status update. And we already looked at the Photon chat controller on how that was being set up and sent. So it's going to be receiving that Photon status, and then it's basically going to check our dictionary of friends and statuses. And if it finds the same player name, then it's going to update the status. If not, we're going to add that to our dictionary. And let's look at this Photon status class, because I don't think we've done that yet. So all this is a plain class. I made it serializable so we can see it, but it's just a player name that's a string, a status that's an int, and a message that's a string. Very simple, but that's how we're going to do it. So lastly, we're subscribed to this handle get current status, and this is from the UIFriend. So if we scroll down, it's taking in a string, which is a player's name, and then it's going to check to see if our dictionary contains that player's name. If it does, then we're going to set the status variable to that player's status. If it doesn't, then we're just going to say, hey, they're offline, and that's basically giving a 0 and giving no message. And then once we've done that, this class is going to invoke this on status updated, and it's going to pass in that status. Now, if we look at our friend UI, you'll see that one of the events that this class is now subscribed to is this Photon Chat friend controller on status updated. So basically, it's going to take that status, it's going to verify that, hey, that status.player name is the same friend name that's in this UI friend. And if so, I'm going to set my status to the current status. And if we look, that's just an integer, and it's going to be, if the status is equal to status online, it's going to set the color to an online color. If not, it's going to change it to the offline color. And this is just going to be a green and a gray. That's how I have it set up. The other event this class is subscribed to is the Photon Chat controller on status updated. And you can see it's basically doing the same thing as well. The reason why this class is subscribed to both of them is Photon Chat controller will be only passing in the current status, but if the UI friend element hasn't been initialized, it'll get the history from this Photon Chat friend controller, because we have that dictionary that is set up to maintain the history of all of our friends and all of the statuses for them. We've now covered all of the code changes that is required to make this system work. So let's do a build and test it out. So now I've made two standalone clients here. On the left, I'm going to log in as Brilith. I'm going to go to our friends list, and you can see everybody's offline. Now on the right, I'm going to log in as Nox. You see, as soon as I logged in, now Brilith knows that Nox is online by the indicator. Now I'm going to look at the friends list here, and you can see it has Brilith online as well. So now I'm going to join a room on Brilith, and I'm going to go back offline as Nox. And to go back offline, I'm just going to close the game. And you'll see here in a second, this Nox indicator will turn from green to gray, just like that. Now I'm going to launch another standalone client. I'm going to log back in as Nox, and you can see Nox is now online. So that will conclude our video on how to update our friend system to use Photon Chat instead of the regular Photon Pun system. If this video helped you out, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. The next video will be focused on setting up different types of game modes a player can join in a game. Also, please join our Discord if you have any questions or requests for additional videos. There will be an invite link to the Discord below, along with some extra resources. I hope you have a good one, and as always, thanks for watching.